Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astar Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Is there a book? Okay. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, The Son of Drona Punished. Today we're reading texts 29 and 30. 29 doesn't have a purport, so I'll read it myself, and then we'll chant text 30 together. So, text 39. Sutta Vacha Shrutva Bhagavata Proktam Falguna Paraviraha Sprishvatpastam Parikrimya Brahman Brahmastram Sandade. Sri Sutta Goswami said, hearing this from the personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched water for purification, and after circumambulating Lord Sri Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one. Text 30. Samhatyant yonyam ubayos tejasi shara samvrite avritya rodasi kam cha vavradate arkavanivat. Samhatyan yonyam ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Vavradatar Kashvanivat Samhatyanyonyam Ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Vavradate Kavanivat Samhatyanyonyam Ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Vavradate Kavanivat Sisara Samvrite Rodasi Kamcha Samvrite Rodasi Kamcha Sisara Samvrite Rodasi Kamcha Kanyanyam Ubayos Sisara Samvrite Rodasi Kamcha Avritya Kavanivat Tanyanya Ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Avritya Kavanivat Vaishnavis Samhatyanyonyam Ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Avritya Kavanivat Samhatyanyonyam Ubayos Tejasi Shara Samvrite Avritya Rodasi Kamcha Samhatya by combination of Anyonyam one another Ubayo of both Tejasi the glares Shara weapons Samvrite covering Avritya covering Rodasi the complete firmament Kamcha outer space also Vavradate increasing Arka the sun globe Vanivat like fire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. When the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets. Purport. The heat created by the flash of a Brahmastra resembles the fire exhibited in the sun globe at the time of cosmic annihilation. The radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. The atomic bomb explosion can at utmost blow up one globe, but the heat produced by the Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation. The comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Gadanjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the Puranas, the Bhagavat Purana, and it's a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is itself a philosophical discussion of the essence of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So, the Vedas themselves are very difficult to understand. So the message of the Vedas is presented to the ordinary classes of people by the method of the stories being told in the Puranas, which also carry with them the message of the Vedas. So we can see some very interesting things being described here. Of course, we don't really care about them on their own, but they are attractive. You know, the story of a big battle taking place, of powerful weapons being used like Brahmastras. This is very attractive to the minds of the people in general. But really what's happening here is the stage is being set for the first personal appearance of Lord Krishna in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the discussion that's going to take place about what to do with Ashvatthama, who has thrown these Brahmastras, we're going to see Lord Krishna appearing on the scene. And that is the most important thing, the pastimes and teachings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But these other topics are also there, and as I said, they can be attractive to the minds of the people in general. I know factually in the kind of preaching that I do that people among the general public are very fascinated that this Srimad Bhagavatam contains accounts of weapons that in some way resemble the modern nuclear weapons. So, or that, in the Srimad Bhagavatam can be found accounts of spacecraft, vimanas, things of that nature. And if this attracts people to read the Srimad Bhagavatam and become exposed to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his transcendental instructions, that is of great benefit for them. It's interesting that the American physicist Robert Oppenheimer, who was in charge of the program to develop the atomic bomb for the United States of America in World War II, was aware of these descriptions, and he was, in addition to being a physicist, he was a Sanskrit student and a student of the Bhagavad Gita. And when the first atomic bomb was tested in 1945 at Alamogordo, New Mexico, he was present, and later he recalled, he was asked, well, what were people thinking when, what were you and the other scientists thinking when this bomb went off? And he said, as far as I'm concerned, I was recalling a statement from the Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna is telling the Prince Arjuna, after displaying his universal form, which was bright like 1,000 suns all together, he told Arjuna, he quoted an English translation of the verse, Kalosmi Lokachaya Krit, time I am, destroyer of the worlds. So this destructive power of all kinds of weapons is actually one of the energies, the potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Andantarashta Paramanu Chayantarastam. Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as being within the universe, but also within each atom. So there's tremendous power and potency within the atom, and that potency is a potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the modern scientists have accessed some of this potency, and it's displayed in the form of these atomic weapons, which are very dangerous, but they're not as powerful as the Brahmastra weapon that is being described here in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport that, the atomic weapons of the modern scientists, they can at most destroy a single planet. But this Brahmastra weapon, its energy can cause damage all over the entire universe. And it's based on a different kind of science. I was reading Srila Prabhupada's lectures about these particular verses that we're speaking on today. And he mentions that this Brahmastra is produced just by some water and some mantras. Just like we're reading in this verse. Arjuna touched water, and according to Srila Prabhupada, he chanted some mantras, and this weapon was produced in that way. It's not like the modern scientific system, which is based on a grosser kind of energy. They have to mine uranium and then build huge factories with centrifuges to refine the uranium into plutonium or some other form of uranium. And then, they have to concentrate it and manufacture a bomb, using metals and things like that. It's a very big industrial process. And then they can use it. But this Brahmastra weapon is based on a more subtle science that was known. Srila Prabhupada, mentioned that there are different branches of Vedic knowledge. There are the 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Artava Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda. But then there's also the Ayurveda. Ayu means life, so it's the science of extending the healthy condition of life. There's the Ayurveda, then there's the Dhanurveda. The Dhanur means weapons, particularly the bow and arrow. Of course, the arrows that were used in Vedic times were not simple little sticks with some metal tips on them. If you study the kinds of arrows that were used in the battles, they had some pretty amazing powers, so they weren't simply little sticks with some metal tips on them. So there was the Dhanurveda, the science of weapons, which was known at this time. It's no longer known to modern science. So they've made their atomic weapon, and people are very concerned about it. At the present moment, they're concerned, North Korea has some atomic weapon they may use to hit Los Angeles or some other city on the West Coast here. So people are very concerned about that. Sometimes in the past, people have had, demonstrations against the atomic weapons. They blame, the scientists and the government leaders, but actually everyone has some part to play in such things, because if such things are used, it's a result of the karma, the bad karma that builds up because of the activities of even the ordinary citizens. They're eating meat, they're killing so many animals every day. And Srila Prabhupada explains that because of that, there will be some reaction in the form of war, maybe involving nuclear weapons or whatever. So sometimes I call it the myth of the innocent citizen. The innocent citizens are protesting against war and weapons, but they are also responsible in some way. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions, after comparing the relative strength of the Brahmastra and the atomic weapon, and stating that the Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation, he says, the comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation. So we have to appreciate where we are. We're in a material universe, one of many millions of material universes that have emerged from the body of the Mahavishnu. When the Mahavishnu, lying on the causal ocean, breathes out, countless universes emerge from the pores of his transcendental body. And those universes expand, they persist in existence for some time, and then when the Mahavishnu inhales, breathes in, the universes re-enter his body. So they're temporary. They're created at a certain point in time, and then they're annihilated at a certain point in time. And even within the time of the existence of the universe, the planetary systems within it undergo pralayas or devastations periodically. At the end of each day of Brahma, the universe, the planetary systems within the universe are devastated. And within each day of Brahma, there are also devastations at the end of the Manvantar periods. So there are cycles of periodic devastations that take place within the universe, and then the universe itself finally is subjected to a pralaya, or devastation. And Srila Prabhupada is here referring to that final devastation of the universe. What happens at that time, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that from at the bottom of the universe, Lord Sankarshan is there, and fire emanates from Lord Shankarshan, and it's a fire that devastates the universe, and it's followed by what's called Samvartaka rain clouds that flood, and then the elements begin to merge into each other. The gross elements begin to merge. Earth merges into water, water to fire, fire to air, air to ether, kind of reversing the process of creation. So at this time of annihilation, there's a cosmic fire that emanates from Lord Sankarshan that burns everything up. And Srila Prabhupada is comparing the power of the Brahmastra to that fire of devastation that takes place when the universe is wound up at the end of the lifetime of Brahma. So we're meant to somehow or other get ourselves out of the situation of having to take birth again and again and undergo not only our personal devastation at the time of death, but these cosmic devastations that periodically take place. At the end of each Manvantar, unless there's some special exception, there is a devastation that extends up to the earthly planetary system that we inhabit. You know, the higher planets aren't destroyed at that time, but the Earth is destroyed and it has to be repopulated at the beginning of the next Manvantar. And there are Prajapatis, generators of population, who do that. You know, they continue to survive on the higher planetary systems. And when necessary, they repopulate the Earth. It's kind of like cloud computing in a way. You know, people keep their files and their pictures and their songs on the cloud so that if their device, you know, their phone or their computer or their tablet is destroyed, you know, they can always get another one and download everything from the cloud. So Krishna has arranged things like that. You know, if there's some devastation on this earthly planetary level, there are resources higher in the universe and personalities who can restore everything. So in the coming verses, there's going to be more about the effects of this Brahmastra weapon. And then, as I said, Lord Krishna is going to come on the scene and resolve a controversy about what to do with Ashvatthama. So I'll stop there. Does anybody have any question or comment? Yes, Naikatma.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just a curious comment that this whole episode we can at least see that there was a great urgency with this Brahmastra being thrown, and how terrible it may be, and how upsetting it was, and all that. But I was just found it very curious that Arjuna had time to circumambulate the Lord, and then touch water, and then counteract it. I would think that the Brahmastra was flying quite fast. So I'm just curious. Prabhupada doesn't say much about it, and I have not heard much, but I just found it very curious that Arjuna had the time to circumambulate Lord Krishna and then counteract the weapon. Do you have any observation on that?
Well, just that apparently whatever it was, he did have the time, because that's the way it's presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I could speculate about, you know, maybe the you know, they could see that Ashvatthama was about to release his weapon, and that, you know, the heat and light were expanding, you know, from it, but they he was able, there was enough time for him to release his counter weapon, and the effect of it's described in in text 30. Archita, you were going to say something on this point?
When Krishna is involved, time can be manipulated in different ways. Just like you took Arjuna to see Mahavishnu, we know one breath of Mahavishnu built trillions and trillions of years. Yet they went there, they had a conversation with Mahavishnu, and then they came back, and still everything was intact here on the earth. It's not like when Kukudmi went to see Lord Brahma. By the time they got back, generations had disappeared. So when Krishna is involved, time can be manipulated according to his desire. So obviously Krishna manipulated the time so Arjuna had time to do what he wanted to do.
Yeah. Sometimes, I've seen movies, where they have special effects, like somebody is shooting a gun, and then they show the bullet, just kind of going, slowly through the air, and then the guy just dodges it. Like it kind of, time slows down. So could be something like that, Ashvatthama has thrown his weapon and the glare is coming, but and Krishna tells Arjuna, you better counteract it with yours. And so we can speculate about it, but it's the facts are presented here. Bhagapati?
Thank you, Prabhu. You gave that example of the cloud. How when certain lower regions of the universe are destroyed, the information is stored on some subtle realm. I guess was the analogy there, which you kind of referred to as the cloud, and then it can be regenerated again.
Yeah, and the personalities are up there too.
Is that how it works on an individual level as well? In other words, everything is stored in the subtle body. Is that like the equivalent of the cloud? And that's how things are able to kind of progress from one life to the next. The information is of all our karma and all the different things we've done, et cetera, just stored or somehow another in the subtle body. Actually, even more than just from lifetime to lifetime. I was just reading this book by Chaitanya Charan, who was just here recently, and he quotes this. He's talking about this point about when the body changes, who is it that remains the same? Because he's making the point that every day 50 billion cells in our body are broken down and are regenerated, which is like 500,000 cells a second, and within 2 weeks all the cells and molecules in our body are changed.
Well, we experience continuity because the soul continues. Dehinosmin yata dehe kamram yovanam jara tata dehantara prapti diras tatra namuyate. That if one understands that the soul is different than the body, then even though the body goes through, the grosser changes, like from childhood to youth to old age to the final dissolution of the body, or you look at it in terms of the molecular changes of the body. I mean, mostly we're not aware of the molecular changes of the body. We don't really perceive that. We do kind of perceive the changes of the body that we undergo as we get bigger. Like a child is aware, okay, I'm taller than I was last year. Or I can tell, my particular body has changed from 20 years ago. I'm not aware of the molecular changes, although that's interesting. But the reason we persist in our identity is that we're not the body, we're the soul within the body.
I understand that. Is there maybe give some further insight into the specific mechanism? In other words, like 2 weeks ago, I was sitting here with totally different cells and molecules in my body. How did the new ones get educated? How is it that I remember anything that happened 3 weeks ago because I got all new cells and molecules in my body?
But you're not the body. Ultimately the super soul is in charge of everything. And Krishna says, Matasmitir Jnanam Apohanam Sha. From me comes memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So Krishna, who is within every atom, is ultimately responsible for the position of those atoms, whether they're part of your body or not, how they're arranged. Ultimately, Krishna is there within each atom, and he's the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna. So ultimately, Krishna is in charge. He may have assistants working for him, different demigods who are responsible for the different senses and things like that, but ultimately the super soul is there. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.